Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I've got a mostly good news forecast for us here in the Prairie as the very cold temperatures, this very cold Arctic outbreak begins to loosen its grip here, especially as you head toward the west, Alberta. You will be feeling the most warmth as we head through the next 10 days, but starting to get some of this warmth spreading into the entire prairie, at least in some fashion, as we head into the next 5 and the next 10 days. Continuing to point out that my location here in central Illinois, holding its own here with the coldest air mass right now. We fell below 0 in Fahrenheit here in Champaign, Illinois. Which again, right here, and that is about 35 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than average. We should be above freezing for our overnight lows, if that gives you any context here. So a bitterly cold air mass that was once situated over the Canadian Prairie, slowly making its way off to the southeast and now parking itself over the eastern half of the United States. Now, what we'll be watching, the alignment right now that's given us something like this, that big ridge diving into a big trough. Now, not exactly like this, but generally speaking, forcing the axis of the thermal ridge there, kind of located right here, going up through the Pacific Ocean into Alaska. So again, keeping a lot of warmth located in this area. Now we're going to slowly start to break that down and flatten the flow out, while keeping kind of an upper level trough located over the Hudson Bay. But that is going to allow this warmth to kind of spread eastward, again, including a big chunk of the Canadian Prairie here, although leaving me in the cold all the way through the next 10 days. Now, it's a dry forecast here across the Prairie. We do have a system we'll be tracking towards the end of the week. They might bring some light precipitation to the area, but not tracking any sizable storm systems, any disruptive precipitation events here as we look at the next 10 days. Checking in with the satellite picture then, again, picking out the flow here, still coming out of the northwest across this region. We have a little short wave making its way through parts of the northern plains of the Corn Belt, bringing some light snow, and then some light snow flurries making their way through parts of southern Alberta. As we flip it over, looking at the radar now on this Wednesday morning, seeing some of these light snow flurries across southern Alberta, an area of light snow here falling across southern Manitoba here in the Winnipeg area just as well this morning. But again, just talking about some very light snow flurries making their way through. Now, as we kind of diagnose the pattern, we're going to look at the 500 millibar vorticity plot, and this helps us pick out little disturbances embedded within the upper level flow. This time of year, those could be producers of just enough lift to get some snow flurries or some snow showers, but it also helps us kind of diagnose the storm track right now. And what I want to point out is right now what we're watching is, flow like this, a ridge over the Pacific, coming in and diving like that. So again, keeping warmer air feeding into the prairie, allowing some warmth to rebuild underneath that ridge. But then also that takes our storm track and does something like this with storm systems, little disturbances riding up and over the mean flow over the Rockies and into the Canadian Prairie, tapping into some of the Pacific moisture in this area, but not tapping into the deep Gulf moisture that would be coming up from the south. So again, it's not necessarily a quiet pattern, but it's one that's really starved for moisture, one that's going to allow some warmth to get back into the region, but then one as we head into the weekend and into next week should bring off and on chances for some very light precipitation to the region. As I put this in motion, you'll see what I mean, just kind of tracking disturbances up and over the top of that ridge through the prairie, just watching this kind of flow. Again, we don't need to pick out individual storm systems just yet on this plot. We'll do that here downstream on some of the precipitation forecasts. We're looking at the precipitable water forecast, and this is another way that I like to use, another method I like to use to kind of pick out the air masses, the flow within the atmosphere as well. And as I just kind of redraw the pattern, watching this ridge right now, watching little bursts of moisture coming from the Pacific, again tapping into some Pacific moisture, taking that up and over the Rockies into the prairie, wringing most of it out over the mountains here, taking most of that moisture and squeezing it out as that air is compressed as it goes up and over the top of the mountain range here, but then wringing it out in the form of maybe some light rain showers, some light snow showers downstream across the prairie. So let's go ahead and we'll take some of the drawings off, but leaving the overall flow here, and you're seeing it here, a big upper level low over the Hudson Bay, taking flow and doing something kind of like this, and then this ridge, upper level ridge over the Pacific, taking the flow and doing something like that. And again, that is one that brings us little doses of Pacific moisture to the prairie, wringing most of that out over the Rockies, but then downstream getting opportunities for some very light rain or snow showers. Here we'll see that in real life or in model life by looking at the precipitation forecast and looking at what we've got coming from the European model. Again, tracking some of these very light snow showers across the southern prairie as we get the day started on Wednesday. Taking this into the middle of the week, we'll watch a disturbance make its way north of the prairie. This will be along and north of Highway 16, bringing some light snow during the day on Thursday, the first half of the day on Thursday. And then as we head into the weekend, we'll watch our next disturbance that could come through here, bringing some light precipitation to the entire prairie. Now, the entire prairie has the chance for some precipitation here, but I would bet that not everyone sees precipitation from this Saturday storm system. Then we've got another one on its heels potentially on Sunday. So it's as we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a couple opportunities for some very light precipitation starting north of the prairie, but then making its way into the prairie as we get into Friday through Sunday. But again, not looking at any disruptive precipitation from this. We'll talk about it again on Friday, but this is something, that produces some snow showers, maybe a trace to a couple of centimeters, nothing disruptive, and perhaps in some areas here just seeing some light rain showers as we bring some warmer air into the region. The total precipitation forecast, taking it through the weekend, so all the way into Sunday afternoon, we'll just freeze it there. Again, a big chunk of the primary prairie region here across southern Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, possibly staying entirely dry, if not mostly dry here, picking up 3 to 5 millimeters of precipitation at the most. You have to definitely head north of Highway 16 to tap into any deeper moisture here, where we're even talking about 5 to 10 millimeters of precipitation. So really, another dry week as we watch this pattern, taking disturbances up and over the top of the Rockies here, again tapping into some Pacific moisture. But you look at where most of that moisture is deposited, and it is over the Rockies here, wringing most of that out. Again, the air goes up and over the top of this very tall mountain range we have over here, wrings out most of that moisture, and then we are left with, the upper level disturbance, but it's had most of its moisture deposited down or upstream across British Columbia. So this is a typical typical winter pattern across the prairie, but it's also one that it doesn't bring a lot to talk about in the way of disruptive precipitation events. Now the temperatures, that's what we're all excited about. Again, looking for below average temperatures where you see the blue and the green shading, the deepest of which, again, located right over my home here in the Midwest of the United States. But here we go, starting to bring in some warmth as we look to the Pacific Northwest and parts of British Columbia into Alberta. Let's see where we are headed. Again, as this upper level ridge begins to slowly migrate off to the east, we start to bring some of those warmer temperatures into the prairie, with above average warmth expected across the entire prairie by the time we get to the end of the weekend and early next week. That is some good news. Zooming in on Alberta then, taking a look at the total precipitation forecast all the way through Sunday evening, taking us through the weekend. And again, noting that things are relatively light, especially as we look at the primary prairie region here south of Highway 16, looking at anywhere from no precipitation or a trace up to maybe 5 or 6 millimeters of precipitation. North of Highway 16, perhaps getting a little higher, but you have to head way to northern Alberta to pick up anything more than 10 millimeters of precipitation. If you want the heavy stuff, head into the mountains, because again, that is where the precipitation or the moisture is being wrung out as we talk about these disturbances making their way in from the Pacific. Total snow then, again, talking about less than 3 centimeters of snow, unless you head all the way to far northern Alberta or you head deep into the mountains. Otherwise, talking about a trace of snow here possible. Again, most of that falling here this morning, and then potentially as we head into the weekend, some snow showers, but across southern Alberta, I wouldn't be shocked to see most of that flipping back to some light rain showers. Your high temperatures for the day today in the lower single digits, dropping back below 0 overnight. Your highs for the day on Thursday would be right around 0, dropping back below 0, especially where we have snow on the ground, upper single digits above 0 as you head into far southern Alberta for the night Thursday into Friday morning. And then Friday, topping out with high temperatures anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees across the primary prairie region. As you head up towards east central Alberta, though, where we've got some snow on the ground, some thicker snowpack, temperatures probably struggling to get above 0 on Friday afternoon. Now flipping it over to the east, looking at Saskatchewan and Manitoba, again, the primary prairie region here along and south of Highway 16 staying dry as we head through the week. Perhaps an opportunity for some light rain or snow showers as we head into the weekend, but again, precipitation looking sparse if there is any at all to talk about over the next 5 days. Talking about snow accumulation, then again, just talking about the potential for maybe some snow showers, a trace in some areas here south of Highway 16 as we head into the weekend. More significant snow possible as you head into northern Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but again, still talking about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow up there. Nothing too disruptive by any means, but then again, heading south across southern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba, likely keeping it most, if not entirely, dry as we finish up the work week and head into the weekend. Now, your high temperatures for the day today in southwestern Saskatchewan, the warm spot up to around 5 degrees, but below zero as you head east. Overnight lows tonight, waking up below zero across the entire prairie. Thursday afternoon topping out around 5 degrees if you head towards southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba. As you get into the central portions of the provinces, only topping out around zero or a few degrees below. High temperatures for the day on Friday likely staying below zero as we see one more intrusion of some cold air making its way through off to the north and to the east, some of that making its way in here, especially across Manitoba. Keeping it a bit cooler off to the east for the day on Friday. Again, high temperatures likely below zero unless you head into southern Saskatchewan, where we'll warm up to 5 to 10 degrees. Again, that warmth slowly starting to make its way across the prairie, just slow going as you head into the eastern portions of the prairie. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I will be back to talk about the Canadian prairie and the opportunities for some quick-moving, light, non-disruptive storm systems as we head into next week. Have a great day.